They say when you fail to plan, you plan to fail. The good news is when it comes to financial planning, you do have a plan. Even if you didn't put one together, it's just the default plan, and it's probably not best for you or your family. My name is Brian Seymour. I'm a certified financial planner and president of Prosperity Wealth, a fee-only financial planning firm focused on closing the racial wealth gap. During this video, I'm going to talk about the default financial plan, which is what happens when you don't put a plan in place for yourself, why it's not a great idea, and some of the things that you can do to get out of this situation. I cover 5 areas of financial planning with my clients: investments, insurance, their cash flow and budget, their taxes, and their estate plan. I'm going to talk about what the default plan in each of these areas looks like and why it's probably a problem and not the best for you. Although it's never been easier, cheaper, or more convenient to invest, there's still a lot of people who just don't do it. Whether it's because they had a bad experience, they don't trust the industry, or they really just don't understand how it works. We all know these people. They keep money underneath their mattress or just in the bank because they don't trust the stock market. And while me and the lovely ladies at Magic City love cash, it just can't do the same thing that investments can. Many checking accounts right now offer 0.01% interest. This means that even if you had $100,000 invested in the bank, they're only going to pay you $10 a year. The problem is that even though you get safety and things like FDIC insurance, you still can't keep up with inflation. We know that everything from milk and gas to shoes and cars get more expensive every single year. And if you have your money in the bank, that $100 that you had is only going to be able to buy you $97 worth of stuff next year. And as the years go on, your standard of living and your purchasing power goes down and down and down. In your employer plan, the default probably looks like a target date fund. Target date funds are mixtures of stocks and bonds that get less risky as you get closer to retirement. And while these are great options for lots of people, you want to make sure that it fits your particular situation and that you don't have one of the largest assets you own on autopilot. People get it twisted when it comes to insurance all the time. I don't own any insurance that I want to use. I don't own car insurance because I want to get into an accident. I don't have home insurance because I want a tornado to come through. And I sure as heck don't have life insurance because I plan on dying anytime soon. I have these insurances because if one of these things happen, I need to make sure that my family's taken care of and I'm not personally on the hook for this. I need to know that if I accidentally run into the door trying to get my daughter on the bus and need 3 stitches on my eye, that I have insurance that's going to take care of me. I need to know that if I hydroplane and get into a 3-car accident, that my insurance company is going to cover it and I'm not going to be personally responsible. And I need to know that when I die, although my family's going to miss me, there's not going to be any financial burden because I didn't have life insurance in place. Life insurance is the transfer to risk that you don't personally want to be on the hook for. It's only appropriate to self-insure when the risk is small and somewhat predictable. It's the reason why I don't have insurance on my phone. The cost to replace it is relatively small. I got a case and a screen protector on it, so I'm doing my insurance. And if for some reason that doesn't work, I guess I have to walk around with a cracked screen until my next upgrade. You can't do that with cancer or totaling your car. And what does self-insurance look like? You've seen it before. It looks like GoFundMe. It looks like people who shifted the responsibility that they had to make sure that their families were taken care of onto the rest of us. But you can't self-insure when the risk is unpredictable and the cost is great. That's why we have life insurance. Because none of us know when we're going to pass, and we have people that are financially depending on us. You've seen the GoFundMes, and you know that that $25,000 might put them in the ground, but it's not taking care of their spouse, and it's not taking care of their kids, and it's not taking care of their mortgage, and it's sure as hell not taking care of college. I have life insurance because I know that when I die, although my family will miss me, they won't have the financial burden of trying to figure out what to do now that I'm gone. And think about the insurances that they make you get, like car insurance. I remember not wanting to get car insurance. So when I had to, I said, what is the cheapest that I can get? And they said, well, the minimum is $25,000, $50,000. And I said, I will take it. And it wasn't until I got into the industry and one of my coworkers and good friends, Jason, brought me into his office and sat me down. And he said, Brian, You're an adult now. It's time to get adult coverage. And he explained what would happen with that coverage that I had. He told me that if I got into an accident that was $100,000 because medical bills are expensive, that my insurance company would cut the check for $25,000 and then I would personally be responsible for the other $75,000. They could come after my assets and they could garnish my wages. And now, not only do I have $250,000 worth of coverage, but I also have $1 million umbrella to protect me and my family on top of that. I don't have insurance that I want to use. I have insurance because I don't want to be responsible if these things happen. We've all seen the default budgeting plan. Spend now, save if there's something left over. This type of mentality has kept us in a constant cycle of debt, high interest credit cards, and living paycheck to paycheck. Your money is kind of like your kids. You would want to know where your kids are, what they're doing, who they're with. So why don't you know that about your money? They say what gets weighed gets measured. And if you don't know where it's at or who it's with or if it's coming back, how do you know that it's doing what you want it to? Cash rules everything around me, but I got to know where it's going and what it's doing. I still don't understand why people are messing around with the IRS. And while your employer is probably withholding taxes if you're a W-2 employee, there are still people who do not file their taxes. First off, it's illegal. Stop doing that. Not a good look. Taxes are not a joke. But I have run into a number of people who have not filed their taxes, who refuse to file their taxes, or said they forgot about filing their taxes. You need to file your taxes every year. And some of you should be paying your taxes quarterly as well. I would say you know who you are, but you may not. Secondly, there's a failure to file penalty that's 5% for each month up to 25%. And there's a similar failure to pay penalty as well. And third, you're just paying what they say. You're not taking advantage of the thousands of pages of the tax code that have credits and deductions that can reduce the amount of taxes that you owe every year. Some people get the bill at a restaurant, give them the card, and don't look twice. I like to go through my receipt and figure out who ordered this and who ordered that. I can't tell you the number of times where I looked at my receipt and I was like, I didn't know what it is. The default tax strategy is probably not keeping the most amount of your money in your pocket. And while dying is probably the last thing that you're going to do, having your estate in order is definitely not last when it comes to financial planning. If you don't have a will or a trust in place, the default plan when it comes to estate planning is relying on the local laws. If you don't have your will, trust, and other estate documents in order, there's no way that you can make sure that your wishes are carried out. When you die intestate or without a will, you're relying on the local laws to distribute your asset and carry out your final wishes. In Georgia, the courts have laws on the books to determine how your assets are distributed. And if you don't have living relatives, the state inherits it. Not your favorite charity, not your alma mater, not your friends. And remember that even with a will, you still have to go through the probate process. Probate means to prove. Anybody who has standing can still contest the will or the distribution of these assets. And wills are also public record. Go online right now and look up Elvis Presley's will. You may or may not want people to know who inherited your assets and how much. And the probate process can be timely, expensive, and often require lawyers. I don't want my family to have to navigate the complexities of the legal system while they're also mourning my death. And I made this all really clear to my family and in legal documents. When I pass away, I'm an organ donor. I want to help impact and save as many lives as I can. And my family also knows that if there's some experimental surgery where they can implant my brain into a cyborg, that I'm down for that too. So the good news is, whether you thought you had a plan or you didn't, you do. It's the default financial plan. And I've yet to meet anybody who prefers the default financial plan. I've yet to meet anybody that basic. I don't know any non-playable characters. But if your life and your family and your future is important to you, I wouldn't stick with the default plan. If you have questions about any of these areas or are still relying on the default financial plan, please reach out for a free 20-minute call to see if this is something that we can help out with. You know where to find me.